volunteering in Norfolk. And maybe if you're part of an organisation, you will know firsthand how important the volunteers you have are to the running of your group. And it can make a huge difference. But talking about this morning, it's after a soup kitchen, which supports homeless people in Norwich, has been forced to scale back. Feed the People serve hot meals outside City Hall 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays and Saturdays. But from this weekend, it's their final weekend stint, as they find it increasingly hard to get people to help on that shift. So let's talk more about this now with Tasha Cobb from Voluntary Norfolk. Tasha, good morning.
Hi, Kayleigh. Morning.
Morning. So, does this echo with what you're finding? Are you finding that organisations are getting less and less volunteers?
Broadly speaking, yes, it does, Kayleigh. Unfortunately, this is the picture across the UK, so it's not just Norfolk. Over the last 10 to 15 years, we've seen a decline in volunteering numbers all across the country, and that picture from our research is mirrored in Norfolk. I would say it's not all doom and gloom, though. We have a really successful volunteering portal we run at Voluntary Norfolk. That's called Get Involved Norfolk. And that is going from strength to strength. So it's an online volunteer recruitment platform. So we have charities, voluntary organisations, groups like Feed the People listing their roles on there. And so far we have had over 3,000 applications accepted through that platform in the last 3 years since it was launched, and it's growing all the time. So we know there is appetite for volunteering in Norfolk. It's just linking people with the roles that suit them. And the great thing about the platform is you can search for roles that are in your location. You can sort by hours and flexibility. You can look at just the sort of role that interests you. And there's so much out there to do, social media, admin, befriending, animal care, gardening, youth groups. There really is kind of something for everyone to get involved with.
And it's, we heard from Robin earlier, when volunteers dwindle, it then means sort of everyone's then got more work to take on. You then burn out, and then people leave because it is too much work. It's sort of that vicious cycle, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. And we are seeing that anecdotally for a lot of charities and groups. As you say, it's the burnout of the people that are still there doing the work, having to take on more. We're also seeing increasing demand for most of these groups and what they do through the cost of living crisis. So what we're seeing is charities kind of stretched thinner and thinner. So whether that's the pool of volunteers taking on more, or it's the paid staff in a larger organisation, obviously, who are having to do more and more. But yeah, we are seeing that kind of burnout and that impact on the well-being of the volunteers, which is a real shame.
And I say the impacts that they have, how valuable are they to charities?
Absolutely so valuable, Kayleigh. We know that volunteers bring a lot of their own experiences, their skills. They, can just be a friendly face. And sometimes the people working in a charity or on a hospital ward, they don't have the time to kind of have that one-to-one interaction with the beneficiaries. So we know that a volunteer can bring that kind of fresh energy. And yeah, we know how much it gives back to the volunteers as well. So, at Voluntary Norfolk, something we're kind of working with charities and groups to do is to really sell the benefits of volunteering, because it can be so beneficial for mental health, well-being, community, and just that feel-good feeling, really, of knowing that you're giving back to a really good cause.
And I think it's really obvious. Hearing from Robin earlier, because they can't get the volunteers, this service on a Saturday night, which I appreciate it's not the easiest day, maybe sometimes to find volunteers, but because of that, 30 to 60 people now won't get fed because the people aren't there. And I imagine you see stories like this all of the time from services that have to stop or things that can't happen because the people aren't there.
We do, Kayleigh, we do. What we normally see, though, is that, people do step up when they see that there is a real need. During COVID, for example, that's the only period in the last 15 years where volunteer numbers across the country have increased. And that's because I think people felt the need to kind of step forward and do something. And obviously, people had that bit of extra time being furloughed or, not having their kind of social activities. And that's where we saw kind of volunteers step forward in huge numbers. So, I do think those people are out there. It's just finding them and kind of making sure that the role is flexible enough, especially a weekend role. As you say, we can all imagine how difficult it is to commit. But perhaps if there's a way of allowing people to sign up for one shift per month, for example, you obviously need that commitment, and that's the tricky thing. But if you can make the role kind of more flexible, kind of opt into certain dates or times. We do see that with events volunteers. So Run Norwich, for example, is a successful one where, it happens once a year and lots of people volunteer for that one day. So that kind of format of volunteering is definitely on the rise, where people want that flexibility and not having to turn up every week and do the same shift.
Is it more difficult in the summer? Because I'm looking at my theatre rehearsal schedule for the next couple of weeks, all volunteers, and it seems everybody is away. But I'm guessing these services still need to run. But do you find in the summer that it does get sort of a little bit mad because life just takes over, doesn't it?
I think you're absolutely right. Yes, I think so. There's so many other kind of pressures on people's time in the summer. And of course, people are on holiday. Caring responsibilities obviously increase with the schools being off. So whether that's grandparents looking after children or parents taking time off work to do that. And that is a big kind of reason I think that we've seen in general a step back from volunteering is that more people are working more hours, where there are children or caring responsibilities. Those are falling to perhaps the older generation that would previously have filled up those volunteer roles. So people are kind of having more demands on their time, I suppose, which can compete with things like volunteering.
So go on then. I mean, if you can give up a little bit of time, maybe just to sort of take that pressure off of somebody else, then what kind of opportunities do you currently have for new volunteers?
Absolutely. I mean, there is so much, Kayleigh. We've currently got over 580 opportunities on the Get Involved Norfolk platform, and those are being added to all the time. We're constantly having new organisations join and listing new roles. So, I mean, there is so much there, whether you want to do something kind of face-to-face, volunteering with a conservation project, getting outdoors, museum work. We've got youth groups who are desperately looking for volunteers. There's also always a lot of roles for trustees. So these are the people that really kind of govern the charities and keep them going, steer them onto the right route that's in line with their mission. And increasingly, we're seeing those roles are becoming more flexible. You might be able to join a trustee meeting once a month online. And we're also seeing a lot of employer-supported volunteers coming through. So these are schemes that employers are running, increasingly popular, where they let employees have, say, 2 days off a year for volunteering time. So companies like Aviva are really leading the way on this, and that's something we at Voluntary Norfolk are trying to support. So that's another kind of flexible way of giving back your time. And it may be that you've got a skill in accounting or social media that a charity is crying out for, because most of our charities in Norfolk are very, very small, and they're not going to have somebody in-house whose job it is to do the social media or the accounts. So having kind of a few hours a week or a month from somebody with that expertise is so invaluable to them.
Oh, well, Tasha, look, thank you for joining us this morning. Tasha Cobb from Voluntary Norfolk.